Albert Einstein, Pablo Picasso, Michael Jordan, and CTC. What do they all have in common? They all changed their respective fields forever. They showed that what could and couldn't be done was nothing more than hearsay. They transcended humanity's preconceived limits in ways people never expected, and they did it all through innovation. It is a common belief that innovation comes from a large foundation of talent or intelligence. However, I disagree with this. Anybody can do it with enough practice and dedication, as creating something new in any possible field follows more or less the same process. Many players at the top and myself have more or less followed similar steps in order to create ideas that make or break the meta straight from the team builder. Today we talk about this very same process. But first we need to talk about what exactly we're dealing with here. Because of this, we'll begin by talking about systems, a rather abstract concept. Systems are a combination of many things, some components being cultural values and individual and collective decisions which ultimately shape the status quo, with something sitting at its center. The Oyo metagame is a system, the Tiering Council is a system, the Pokemon Company itself is a system, to name a few examples. Everything and everyone is part of a system. You choosing to run Hyper Offense over Stall is a choice based on the type of system you're operating in. Which Pokemon are considered good or bad, and which ones get banned are also consequences of the system favoring one playstyle to another. This is of course outside of things like enjoyment and bias. Systems are also generally sturdy by design. They are hard to fight against and even harder to alter. Everything serves a purpose within the system, from the ladder scrub that runs Pikachu on ladder to the top player setting Metatrans. They are rather complex, but through experience and deep thought they can be seen and understood, and that's what makes a difference. In this context, we can refer to Pokemon metagames as their own individual systems. When you first play a new meta without looking too much into it beforehand, everything looks abstract and rather obscure. But the more you play, the more you learn. And the more you think about why things work the way they do, the more you understand the meta. This may sound kind of obvious, but your base of knowledge at your 30th battle is not the same as it was during your first one. You may be beginning to understand what you're in for. And once you identify the core aspects of the meta, you have three options. Ignore it exists, fight it, or use it to your advantage. This last one is what we'll be focusing on. Using the system or meta to your advantage is perhaps the best way to build consistent teams. With sufficient knowledge about the system, you can see the cracks in it or potential problems with it, which are then translated into opportunities and ideas for teams. This is the driving force behind innovation. Innovation is born from a problem that needs to be solved or an opportunity that was found. It all starts with finding overarching issues within the system or the meta, and then thinking about possible solutions and creating a team that makes use of them. If there aren't any clear solutions to a recurring problem, then that leaves the opportunity to solve them. Of course, innovation derives from intuition, and intuition is founded within knowledge and experience. There is also a possibility that metagame trends are so set in stone they start to look stale and exploitable. And this is how we learn to take advantage of the meta, rather than trying to fix it. We're using the system to turn it into profit. I will be providing two examples of this, both in singles. When Gen 6 came out, defog became the way to remove hazards from the field. No mon at the time was immune to defog, and Rapid Spin became your grandpa's hazard removing option. This is when a user by the name of Sinclair came up with a genius idea, running Bisharp in order to counter defog. Because of its ability Defiant, Bisharp would get a +2 attack boost each time its evasiveness got dropped thanks to defog. Paired with the hazard stacking mon in the form of Deoxys D made this one of the deadliest strategies at the time. Because of this, Bisharp became a very popular mon in Gen 6, and the idea that there was no way to prevent defog was quickly thrown away, changing a recurring preconception of the meta. The second example comes from Gen 3 OU, the first generation with abilities. Skarmory is a Pokemon that can hardwall strong physical attackers such as Metagross and potential setup sweepers like Dragon Dance Gyarados and Salamence. So what do people do to solve this issue? They run Magneton, a mon with the Magnet Pull ability in order to trap and obliterate Skarmory. With its high special attack stat and stat Thunderbolt, it can easily OHKO any Skarmory if holding a Magnet, thus allowing physical sweepers to have an easier time. I have no idea who was the first person to run a Magneton, but I don't think it matters that much. What I am trying to say here is that both examples are very simple ideas that either solve an issue or take advantage of the meta. It is also important to note that a groundbreaking idea doesn't necessarily have to be using an unorthodox Pokemon. It could also be coming up with a unique EV spread of an already used Pokemon which helps glue a team together, or a new item or move combination which takes advantage of certain trends or solves a problem altogether. Anyways, once we have an idea and build a team around it, we need to confirm if said idea actually works or not. Many people brag about not needing to test, but I find that to have its own set of issues. After all, many things work differently in battle than they do in our heads. Now, let me tell you about a consistent method for testing teams accurately. If your idea addresses a common problem or abuses a very common trend, pick 4 or 5 teams to test against. These teams need to bring the overlaying issue or trend to the field. Run the first filter to see if your idea manages to work as you foresaw it. If it does, then make the pool of teams you test against bigger to see if it's not too niche or too specific. That will tell you about other strengths and weaknesses you probably didn't think about before. Needless to say, this method relies on having somebody to test with. If you don't have a test partner, then the ladder is your best friend. I 100% recommend laddering regardless, as the pool of possible teams is even bigger there. You can also further discuss the idea with somebody you trust in order to get a second opinion. Not every idea will work, probably. You need to be able to let go of your idea if you feel like your tests are not going well or you don't feel all that comfortable with your team. There is no shame in dropping a team and starting over. Not everything is meant to be a direct success, but finding out what works and what doesn't, I dare say, is also part of the fun. What we are looking for here is a solid strategy. The best ideas and the best strategies have a few things in common. They are simple to execute and easy to adopt. They are simple solutions to otherwise complex situations. Elaborated solutions may also exist, but they are probably only adopted so easily by a few people. Let's go back to the examples I gave. Bishop takes advantage of the never-ending list of potential default users and uses the threat of its ability in order to flip a mechanic on its head. No overtuning needed, just put Bishop alongside a hazard setter and profit from sheer offensive pressure. Magneton, on the other hand, solves a problem for many Pokemon that would otherwise be walled by a single mon, Skarmory, allowing for a complete archetype to exist within the ADB meta. We can't talk about innovation and strategy without the opportunity cost. If you've studied economics, finance, or anything related to administration, you probably come across this term before. Opportunity cost is the next best option left behind when choosing another. Translating that into Pokemon, let's imagine Aromatisse wasn't removed from the game and you want to use it as a Wish Passer because it's guaranteed in theory thanks to its ability Aroma Veil, so it won't be able to get taunted by a faster mon and will always get a Wish off. But how does Aromatisse compare to other available Pokemon like Clefable and Alomomola? Alomomola, for instance, is bulkier than Aromatisse and has inherent recovery thanks to Regenerator. Clefable also has more or less higher bulk and is also immune to hazards thanks to its ability Magic Guard. Therefore, the opportunity cost of using Aromatisse is leaving the aforementioned 2 Pokemon strengths behind in order to use a Wish Passer that can be taunted. You can probably determine whether this would be worth it or not based on the state of the meta. Moving on, new strategies may alter the meta, but not everything has to do it. When something new is brought to the table and threatens the status quo, the system always tries to mitigate it. The player base adapts and someone else might come up with something in order to suppress this new idea. It could be a new strategy in itself, or if the community is involved, arguments against it. Things hardly ever stay the same, but unless something radical alters the metagame, it is hard to change. But there are scenarios where the meta could change naturally or artificially. It could be a new Pokemon release, a ban, or a newly found strategy that is too good to miss out on. While overarching themes may exist, metagame progression and innovation when done properly always stand out. To summarize, let's go over the process that may help us innovate and validate new ideas. We first learn about the system, we identify issues or opportunities within it, and then we build teams around ideas that may help solve a particular problem or take advantage of the state of the meta, only to test those later. If tests are successful, we polish our idea and test its limits. If tests end up in failure, we rub it off and start from scratch. And that is it for this video. As I said before, anybody can do it. Anybody can come up with good ideas. It's not a matter of being talented or being smart. It's a matter of understanding how the system or metagame works, and how you can use your knowledge to solve a problem within the system or, well, abuse it. Part of why I love Pokemon and its team building aspect so much is because they are a way to express ideas and push our own creative capabilities. Not to say that this is extremely easy or anything of the sort. It takes time, it takes practice, and you are likely to fail at times. But if you keep trying, it is very likely that you will eventually feel satisfied with something of your own creation. Anyways, I hope this video helped you somehow. If it did or not, let me know in the comments below. As always, many thanks for watching, and see you guys in the next video. Goodbye.